Good evening, everybody. It's Friday night, my friends, and I'm back and finally putting on the old programming spurs for a little bit here. It's I've got oh wait, hang on a minute here. Sorry. I have what am I trying to say? I've been away from streaming coding for a little bit here because work has been just like we were in crunch mode for a while there, and I just needed to kind of take a little bit of a break. Doing all the under stress of doing all the coding, for the day job, just made it so it was kind of I needed the break. I needed to play some games and just have some fun on stream, just as a stress relief thing more than anything else. But we're beyond that now, and I can get back to at least a little bit of some casual programming here. Unfortunately, I have some family stuff tomorrow, so I won't be doing any streams at all tomorrow. Normally we would do some more of this tomorrow, but I can at least get one stream in this week with some coding. The hard part here is remembering where I left off. I did leave some to-dos for myself, so hopefully we'll be able to figure this out and figure out where we need to go, because there's obviously this method has to get filled out and all this. And yeah, I'm hoping we'll have to see where we're at in terms of learning here. So we're at, I know we're chapter 8, but I think we're all the way down. Haven't done completing the changes is, I think we're at the allocator here. Yeah, I think this is where we're at right now. And then we have one more section which has a lot of like little changes all over the place to look at. Let's do a comparison here so I have that when we may need it. Oh, everything's on this one desktop here, so let's move that over to coding desktop. I like that KDE remembers what you had open, but it doesn't remember what desktop you had it open on, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. And I know there's probably some way to make it remember, but I'll have to look it up. Okay. What do we got here? So we're in the allocator. Oh, this is the Vulkan book one. And this is our engine. Yeah, we're in the descriptor allocator. We're doing the validate limits and requested counts, which is something I created, apparently. Try and break up this method a little bit. Yeah, okay, check if we have room for sets in any descriptor pool. Yeah, I think I broke up this method because I didn't like how many things it was doing at once. Alright. So check count doesn't exceed max default limits. So then what does that mean over here? Yeah, I left this at a point where this is a problem. I left this at a point where I don't remember. I was in the process of pulling this apart. And so what we have here, we got all layout types exists. Check descriptor types exists. So what did I do there? Count max total available count. So we're doing the count doesn't exceed limits here. Which is what we've got. And I think this part here, the unknown type. Yeah, so we got that part. Requested count, and then so the part where we're checking the limits, and then we say cannot create more than max total for descriptor type. So count doesn't exceed limits. Count default contains key if exists. Okay, I think I copy pasted. Okay. So it's really okay. Doesn't exceed max default limits. So count doesn't exceed limits. So we're basically doing this portion here. So we're saying count is greater than max total. Available is less than count. Target pool is null. Break otherwise. This is the target pool. Basically, they're trying to find a pool with enough enough space available to do that. Count is greater than max total. Right, so they're doing upper bound check on the counts. So what we're saying here is which the thing with that is limits on the descriptor type. Descriptor limits get descriptor type. Create descriptor limits. Physical device. So limits back descriptor set max uniform. Okay, so that's why they're checking it on all of them. Because they're doing a max or a math min. So math min on there. Alright, so really it's not yeah, I guess we gotta fail fast if okay, I see what I was doing. So I was looping over the list because part of this could be integrated with the actual check here. Like I could just loop over the list and say this is no bueno, but really, I mean, it's just as easy to loop over it once, check it, and then loop over it again and to find the pool that you can support. I think that's really what I'm going for here. So what I think I want to do actually is I want to pull that out of there. Yeah, I kind of want to pull that out of there even more. Say private boolean we calling this? What are we calling this? See what bothers me about this though? Something bothers me about this. So we're saying get for the description type. So I really can't pull this out because it's based on the whatever the current description type is. I'm not checking all the limits in the hash map. I'm only checking the one that is for this. So if that's the case, default descriptor limits contains type key, contains key type. Yeah, this will still work. It's just... yeah, the annoying part here is that you can pull in a list of stuff, which just seems strange. You know, if it was just like one and then one, then this whole thing just becomes simple, and I don't know. I'm not sure why they need to pass a whole list of things in there, but they do, so we're gonna roll with it. But what I want to do is say count. I guess we'll just do the lists. Integer. Info lists. And so we can do can't exceed the limit is I don't even really need to do that. I can just say return info list dream any match actually I don't even need to do that, right? I could just say type dot not type no, what do they do here? Descriptor limits get descriptor type. descriptor limits. Get or default. Type. And then, I guess what would be a good default value? I guess, -1 if it doesn't exist, which it shouldn't at this point. Is if type is greater than that. Right. So what we're saying is if anything, if this matches at all for anything passed in, if the no, not type, count. Yeah, right. If the count passed in is greater than the limits of any of the types passed in, then this will return true, which is a bad thing. So that I can get rid of. I see why see, I had this here to say unknown, to say that it exceeded a certain, what limit it actually exceeded. I mean, I guess I can do that just so we have the logging for it. Because what do they do? Yeah, you know what? Probably should, just so we can get some, just the logging is useful here. So I'll say matches. What was that? If matches logger error. What did they do? They actually throw a runtime exception. Okay. Which I will eventually do. But at first I'll do the logger here. So, so what is it? Cannot create more than descriptors, is that what we're calling it? Descriptor type. Okay, so this would be I guess I might as well put value. I'll just make it life a little bit easier here. There we go. So that'll work a little bit nicer. So you just say if requested count exceeds limits, throw wish I knew what count was. Yeah, I guess because yeah, I mean that's the silly thing about this is that they haven't named any of their variables very well, so it's just trying to figure out what the hell they're asking for. Descriptor sets. So tempted to create more descriptor sets than allowed. Okay, that'll have to do. And then what's the next part of this? Then we have to find a pool that can hold the descriptor sets. So we want to return a. What are we trying to return here? Target pool. Pool info. Okay, descriptor pool info. So go private pool info. Find pool with space. So count integer info lists. Right, and saying available is less than count. Oh yeah, I know what they're doing there. What I really need is target pool, descriptor pool info, descriptor pool lists. Count. So they're trying to do descriptor count. Get. How do I do that up here? We were just looking at. So we weren't looking at the whole thing here. We're just looking at the limits. Right. So then it's a matter of looping over descriptor pool info lists. Loop over the descriptor pool info lists. And then pool info lists. Descriptor count, get descriptor type. Available. Okay. I'm going to see the type. Descriptor type is coming from layout info. So, descriptor type is really... Wait a minute. Get descriptor type. Where am I getting that from? Over here. Oh, where am I getting descriptor type from? Yeah, wait, this isn't right. This isn't right at all. Because I'm looping over the info list of types. Maybe that's right. What is info list? Because they're sending the description set layout. What was I intending info list to be? Oh, descriptor pool info list, right? Because it would be... Because add descriptor sets. Descriptor pool lists. Descriptor pool list is... We're looping over... Oh, we're doing get layout infos. That's where the layout infos is coming from. Okay, so we're looping over the descriptor pool lists from there. What is this being used for? It's just to get the layout infos from the... Okay. Okay. So we're looping over the descriptor pool list up here. So if I go... I don't want to do it that way. Just do it the traditional way, like they have it. And then what we're doing is, so count is passed in. So what I'm saying is, we want list, get your info list as layout info list. type. Okay, so we're doing layout info, get the type. What are they doing here? So, why did I make this list integer? What the hell was I thinking here? Because really that should be... It should be get layout infos, although... Really, it just needs the layout info, description type, descriptor type. Descriptor pool info. Descriptor type. So really, I just... Let's get descriptor type. So I need to pass layout infos in and loop over it with the descriptor to get the descriptor type, which is what I'm kind of doing, but I'm not doing it right here. So this should be layout info. And this should be info type. Right, for that one, and then this one is the same thing. Okay. So that gets us to there. I don't know what I was thinking with the intro. I guess I thought I was going to pull all the types out of the list, but it's really not needed, right? Unless I already have it somewhere. I don't think I do. I don't think I do. So then this is count and then info lists. So if that succeeds, Right, if that succeeds... then we have to do this find pool with enough space, right? Which is that, I mean, I guess that's looping over the info list too, because it's in here, but that would be, it's not really, it's only looping over it insofar as to get the descriptor type. Descriptor set layout. There has to be an easier way to do this, because this is kind of screwy, just looking at it. Like, there just has to be an easier way to do this. This feels hacky. I do... Of course, I say that, and I don't have a better solution right now. Because my problem here is, if I deviate too far from what's in the book, they're probably going to build upon this in some other chapter, and then I'll be completely lost. Even more so than right now. I think... I guess, I don't know. I wish they would actually explain what the hell this stuff is for. I mean, they say, oh, it's just descriptor alligators and pools and all that stuff, but like, target pool null and break to continue the next descriptor pool. Already available descriptor pools and target pool. This means that we need to create another pool. Once we have a pool, either because when existing ones don't have enough space, or because we've created a new one, we create descriptor sets and update the available space in the associated pool. Get the idea behind this. This one for descriptor set handlers. Descriptors. Descriptors represent shader resources such as buffers, images, or samplers. We need to use descriptors in order to access the textures from the shaders, and also for uniforms. Descriptors are grouped in descriptor sets whose general structure is defined through descriptor layouts. Descriptors are like handles to access resources from shaders and are created through a descriptor pool. Managing descriptors is often a tedious task. You need to define for each pool the number of descriptor sets that it will be able to hold. For each of the supported types, each descriptor needs to be associated to the descriptor set layout, which are tightly related to how they'll be using the shaders. In order to facilitate this process, we're going to use the following approach. Create descriptor pools which will support the descriptor sets we're going to use. Size to the maximum number of elements supported by the driver. If we reach a limit in a specific descriptor pool, we'll create a new pool. We will store descriptor sets by name so we can easily access them by an identifier. So other parts of the code, managing descriptor sets. Okay. I mean, I get sort of what they're on about. I mean, the uniforms and stuff have to have a place where they can define variables and all this other stuff and access resources and things. Uniforms are all part of the shaders and all that stuff. So, fine. I just can't help but feel like they overly complicated this. Like they say it's complicated, sure, but the way they've put this together is just strange. Like, if you have to do a double for loop on something, you really, really, really need to look at how you've designed what you're doing, right? It's not that the double for loop is wrong or bad necessarily, but it adds, to anyone looking at the code, it adds complexity. And the problem is that it's not just the double for loop here that's causing me angina. It's also the amount of... It's the... Oh, God damn it, GitHub. Just stop doing that. It's the amount of cross-cutting that's happening here. Right? Like, we're digging into... Like, they're doing this double for loop and then they're shoving a whole bunch of shit in the middle of it. Right? Like, we're doing validations and then we're also tying onto the end of it actually grabbing the pool, right? Which should never be the case. You shouldn't, like, if you're gonna validate something, don't do this bullshit, right? Like, it, just one thing at a time here. You know, you're validating stuff, validate stuff. So this is what's annoying me about it, because the other problem here is they are reusing stuff in a weird way. So like so the type makes sense. Type stays consistent throughout, right? But then available, up here they check to see if available is null here, then they're validating that, but then they don't do anything with it here, and then down here they start using it again. Right? Which just kind of, when you're trying to read this thing, it throws you off, right? It's like, why is this here? Like, could this be, and obviously they can't move it anywhere else because they've tied this in with it, right? What should really be happening is this really should be somewhere else, because they've tied these together. Now that I'm trying to pick this apart, it's being a pain in my butt. Hey DRG, welcome. How are you doing? So that's kind of what I'm trying to wrestle with the fact that I know later on, if I write this as they have it, I will never understand what this method does. Never in a million years, which is why I've tried to pull it out and just give it a proper name and pull out all the individual pieces. This, may not perform as well as shoving them all together, but at least I'll be able to see and understand what the hell I was smoking when I wrote it. And that's the other part. That's the other part of this. The way they did this in this book is that it's like they didn't name their variables very well. So it's like, what the hell is count? Like max total. You've got available. It's just like, if they had pulled these things out and did them proper, made method calls or something, like even just, you could keep your double for loop, but even just make these small method calls and make the method name something that actually makes some semblance of sense, that would at least add some clarity to this muddiness. But it's it is what it is right now. I wonder. See, now I'm like, and the problem is, as I'm pulling this apart, I'm realizing that there's interconnectedness here that I think I'm losing in the process, right? Because I'm passing the layout infos in, and then I'm looping over that, and validating that. Validating these things, but then I need the what do I need? So if these are valid, then I have to check if there's enough room available. Or I don't even need. I need to find a pool that has enough room, or create a new one. Is what they're trying to do here. Right. So at this point, I've validated that the count passed in doesn't exceed any limits, and that the layout info passed in from here is something that actually exists in our pools. Right, because that's what I did here. I said all layout types exist, because they were looping over everything in the info lists, checking to make sure that those actually exist. Okay, and I've got that. So then check if the requested count exceeds any limits. If it does, then this is, yeah. If any of these match, this will return true, which means something exceeded a limit, and we should fail, which is good. And now we just need to go over the info list. Let me see if I can figure this out. So we're looping over layout infos. And we're looking to see how much available space is left in the pool. So I have to do pool info. Let's see, it's this pool. It's the overarching pool info, which we're looping over the pool infos, right? Okay, so we got the info there. So then we pass in pool info. Just to get the amount of available space in there. We already know it exists because we've already checked that. We already know this is cool because we've checked that. So really it's... Okay. So it's really just this part and then this part. Right, so we're going to say... okay. So... find or create pool with enough space. Okay. And for this, so we have the info here, info lists. But I also need the pool info. So it'd be oh. Hey, well, welcome on in. How you doing? How did shopping go? So we're past the pool info in. Then I'm saying no, that doesn't work. Doesn't frickin' work because of how they frickin' messed this frickin' thing up. Because I need to pass the entire list of pools in there in order to do it. Oh, no problem. No problem. All right. I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a much more manageable week. Just fixing a few bugs at work and not much else to write home about. You know, just trying to talk them off the cliff with AI nonsense. But other than that, it's been pretty straightforward. I don't. The more the AI stuff is getting pushed, the more I feel like the bubble's about to burst. Because you see, there's so much hype around all this AI stuff. And you dig into it and it's really nothing special. Number one. Number two, it's kind of helps, but only if you give it the most basic of tasks. And three, and I tweeted about this earlier in the week. Not tweeted. I blue sky posted, whatever they call it over there. We had a meeting this week about best practices for prompt engineering a good AI prompt that'll get you what you want. And I was laughing, obviously on mute, but I was laughing through the whole thing because it was like they were typing out these huge paragraphs of stuff, and I'm like, the amount of time it took you to type that prompt out, you could have just written the damn thing and been done with it. I'd like to see what your ROI on that is. You know, and yeah, it's just I don't, and it's getting pushed so much. And what's really annoying me about it, and why I think it's really not going to lead to good things, is every time the business talks about how they're going to use AI and all this stuff, and what features they're going to put, that, you know, they want us to put into the product, no one's asking the question of, is that actually going to benefit our users? Right? It's like, at the end of the day, coders are supposed to be problem solvers, right? We're supposed to be solving through technology problems that the business has and problems that the users have, so that our software is useful to them, you know, is actually making their lives better. And yet every talk of AI right now is like, well, they're going to have this chat window, and then they're going to be able to, it's going to navigate them to pages on the site and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know, we have a menu, a well-documented menu. They can just click on where they want to go rather than typing it out. We have robust reporting. They can just run a report instead of typing out what kind of report they want every time they want it. You know, we're not, you know, all these things are not, we're not making anything novel for them, right? So you're going to put all this money and effort into something that's going to roll out to clients, and they're going to not use it because it's not helpful to them. And all because you want to impress some technology analyst somewhere so that they'll give you favorable reviews and favorable ratings that you can then, you know, basically a glorified hall pass, a glorified piece of paper that says, hey, we're cool and we're awesome, and we can present it to prospective clients. It's like, but ultimately you're not, like, you're spending all this time, instead of spending time like solving the problems of the users, you're just solving problems that they don't actually have, and so they're not going to use all that stuff. They're not going to care. Meantime, they're going to care about things that you're not solving for them, and you're going to lose them because someone else is going to come in and go, hey, we've solved that problem for you, and they're going to go, okay, cool, we're going to go with you. You know, it's so silly. It's so silly, and it's being dominated by, and this is the other reason I think that it's a bubble, is like it's the dialogue is being dominated by marketers and salespeople. The technology people are like, yeah, it's okay, but man, the people who aren't writing code, man, they're all gung ho about it, right? look at all this stuff we could do. Like, anybody can write code now. And it's like, well, anybody could write code before. It's just you had to actually use your brain. You had to actually learn some things, you know? I mean, I think we kind of buried the lead there somewhere along the way, by requiring all kinds of college degrees and hall passes and all this stuff, when all we really needed was people who enjoyed writing code or enjoyed learning something to learn something and go forth and multiply, but whatever. It's gonna be an interesting, I think the next 6 months are going to be kind of interesting, because I think we're already seeing cracks in the foundation. This will end up being like the what was that most recent thing that was big ballyhoo that ended up dying out? NFTs and what was the technology side of it? I keep wanting to call it a balance sheet, but it's not a balance sheet. It's I can't think of the name now. My brain has excavated that information out and took it out back and shot it. It's I can't even think of it. It was asset thing. I'm trying to ledger something. I can't think of the name of it now. But anyway, that was and there's still some games that are trying to bring that into the whole Bitcoin ledger thing in the background. Own your own piece of virtual land nonsense. It's like, oh, look at all this stuff we could do with this. It's like, yeah, we've been able to do that for decades. It's called a database. You have it. Congratulations, you reinvented a database and called it a different name. Here's a cookie. Right? Oh man. I don't know. I also get the feeling that I'm slowly turning into a graybeard here and just being ornery for ornery's sake. Like, there comes a point where it's just like you've seen so much shit that you're just like, whatever. Let me just stay in my little corner and take my fingers away. I mean, I want to stay up to date, and I'm trying to stay up to date with a lot of this stuff, because it's important that I stay current on things. Because I've seen, there is at least, and this was, a decade or more ago, there was very much and probably still in place, like an ageism thing that happens in the technology industry, where you get to a certain age, and depending on the average age of the employees at a company, they may reject your application. They might reject your interview, just because you're perceived as being too old. Which almost happened at a like I was we at one of the companies I worked at. We interviewed a guy who had, 25, 30 years of experience in development, and knew his stuff. I mean, he was very experienced, knew all of his stuff, very good, candidate. And, afterwards, we did our we talked to each other because it was like we did a panel interview, which is what often the technology programmers do. Is they'll often sit a couple people in the room and all sort of ask questions back and forth, and which in and of itself can be a little intimidating, but it's really not. It's really not that bad. It's more so that you get a good feel of like how your colleagues interact with potential colleagues would interact with one another. And yeah, there was three of us that did the interview, that interviewed the guy. And then we had our little meeting afterwards to talk about it, and I was like, yeah, this guy's great. We should do this. And the one of my colleagues was kind of on the fence. He was like, yeah, I think it was all right. I don't know. Yeah. And then the other one was like, no, we definitely shouldn't hire this guy because he's old. I'm like, what? And I go, what? I was like, he's what? Like, well, he's old. We need people who can, learn new things and all this. I'm like, dude, get that out of your mind. I was like, just get that completely out of your mind. I'm like, we are not going to reject a candidate because of age. That is not going to happen. Let's focus on his experience and whether or not he'll fit with the culture of the company. And we ended up we hired him. We hired that guy, and he worked out well. He was completely fine. Came in, hit the ground running. Never had a problem. It's like just. But that's what happens when you have we had a lot of younger people in the development department, or as they like to call it, engineering, which always angers actual engineers, but that's what they call us. They call us engineers. What can I tell you? What can I say? I didn't make up the term. It's just what they slapped on me. So it was I think our average age at that time was like maybe 30 to 35, somewhere along that way. And this guy was probably in his 50s. I don't know for sure, but it was probably pretty close. And it's just, sometimes you get into these cultures, these corporate cultures that are just kind of worse than the old playground days, and so it's definitely if you've ever heard of people in software development like having trouble getting jobs just not because of their resume, but because of unknown factors, like that very much can be a thing, because there's a perception that if you're still writing code after a certain age, that you must not be particularly good at what you do because you've never been promoted to management, because a lot of middle managers are people who used to code at some point in time. Interestingly enough, upper management never have touched code in their lives usually, but the middle management usually has. Um, and that's weird, and it always has been weird because the ones who are ultimately making the decisions don't know what the frick they're talking about. And it's the ones down in the middle who are like, the middle managers who are sweating bullets because they're on the hook to get things moving, but they know that it's unreasonable, but they can't fight back, And it's just a weird situation that a lot of companies are in. Then I've talked about companies with culture problems before in the past. I've worked at companies in the past that were just kind of, they just had a very unhealthy, I wouldn't go so far as to say toxic, but they had a very unhealthy culture. And a lot of it, like, you could trace back a lot of it to before you ever worked for the company, right? There's these companies that had, some kind of event that happened along the way, and all the people who were involved in that event have long since departed for greener pastures. But yet everyone new coming in is still feeling the effects of that. Like, because there's all these fences and all these guardrails and all these paper trails and just, that exist that make no damn sense unless you go back in history of the company and realize that someone just kind of threw out the idea just to get somebody off their ass. Like, I've talked about the magic spreadsheet that the one company had, where you had to write down, when you're speccing out a project, estimating a project, you had to write down what you thought, how many classes and how many lines of code and how many developers you would think it would take to make it successful. And then the spreadsheet would just generate a random number of hours. And then that you had to present those hours to your manager and say, this is how long it's going to take for this many people. And it was total BS. Like, you look at the formulas in that thing, it was just random numbers. It was complete and utter BS. But if you look back at the history of that company, you realize somebody was just like, something happened where something was promised and heads rolled when it didn't get delivered. And probably the heads that rolled were not the ones who were even responsible for it not being delivered, because it was probably overpromised from the very beginning, which is often what happens. And, an unrealistic deadline was placed. And so in order to kind of stop the bleeding, someone just was like, and try to get like the uppity ups off their back, someone just came up with this magic spreadsheet, say, look here, this'll work, this'll do it, knowing full well that it was total bullshit, but they didn't care. They just wanted to get them give them something to just, satisfy them. Like, okay, sure, yeah, that's great, awesome. And then from that point forward, everyone else, even people who weren't even working at a company at the time, were now bound by this magic spreadsheet that was total nonsense, because that was the process now. And it's things like that just drive you absolutely insane. Because everyone who knows anything knows that it's nonsense. But the ones who don't know anything, i.e. the C-suite, they think it's the best thing ever. Oh, look, we've changed our processes. We're you know, strong functioning company because we have all these processes and all these quality controls and all this stuff. And it's like, your quality controls are literally someone rolling a freaking dice. That's your quality control, is somebody sitting there with a 20-sided die hoping they don't roll a 1. it's just insanity. And that's, I mean, a lot of that is also like with the AI stuff too, coming back to that. Like, AI is basically a dungeon master sitting behind their cardboard divider, just rolling dice, right, at the end of the day. And sometimes the dice rolls actually make sense, and sometimes it throws you a hallucination or two. Oh man, it's a thing. It's a real thing. This is why sometimes, like when I say something like, "Oh, it's been a week at work, and I can't write code right now because my brain is just hurting." Sometimes it's because of that. Sometimes your brain just hurts, not because you're writing a lot of code, but because you're just dealing with a lot of just illogical events. and you're just like, I can't, like, I'm not a smoker, so I can't go like, I need a cigarette. It's more like, I need to play some games. That's my escape. Which I guess theoretically is a hell of a lot more healthier than getting a smoke, but at the same time, sometimes you can't replace it. Oh man. Cheaper than joking a bit, yeah, right. Yeah, there's no consequences. I could virtually go in and destroy some pixels, and no one bats an eye. Man. What are they? This annoys me here. So they're looping over. So they're trying to find the amount of available stuff in the pool. They're trying to find a pool that has available space. Not only has the type that they're looking for, but has the available space for what they're trying to allocate. And what they're trying to allocate. So what is layout info doing for me here? It's just looking at the type. Right, which it's just looking at the type, which we've already validated the type is fine. So all we're really doing is looping over the pool info. And well, you know what? I forgot. I can draw things. The power of Linux here. So all we're doing is we're looking at. So this type is already yeah, I don't need layout info at all, right? Because that's not, oh, I changed something there. I don't need layout info at all because at this point we're just looking at the amount of stuff that is available from the pool info, right? And so the pool info, and then the count is passed in. Whoops. The count is passed in. Oh, this is not the one. The count's passed in, and then we're looking at the available and making sure that, in this case, if the available is less than a count, they're breaking out. But really, the idea is that we're trying to find whether or not we need to trying to find out whether or not one way or the other a pool is going to be created. Well, one way or the other, the allocation is going to happen. Now, whether the allocation happens against existing descriptor sets or we create a new one, it's going to happen at this point. So all I really need to do, I don't like this pool position thing either. Put it in that pool position. I hate it. I hate it so much. But that's fine. We have to track that. We have to track that, which is going to annoy the hell out of me. So in that case, then. So in that case, layout info lists. So I validated that's correct. This doesn't even need Boolean. I'm going to make that void. Right, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just run this in this loop. Right, and then I'm going to pass that entire goddamn thing into here. List descriptor pool. Info. Right, that's what I'm looking for here. And then I gotta pass the descriptor set layout and the count. I got the count. So then the descriptor set layout? No, I guess. Layout, get layout info lists. Descriptor set layout. Pass the whole thing in. Wait, didn't I put something on here? That's why I was doing list of integer, because I was going to do this. Get layout info, descriptor types. Layout info, descriptor types. Get layout info, descriptor types. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have another idea. Validate. Info type. Layout info type. So, info list stream. So I was doing that for so limit is for type. So what yeah. Why couldn't I put a available method? Like get all available space method. Like what is it doing? Oh. Available is digging into that's digging into the pool info. Okay. That's digging into the pool info. So layout infos. So what am I doing? So layout info is only needed for the type. Right? That's the only thing layout info is being used to do, is to grab the type. So if I have a list of the types, so what is the, so available's doing descriptor count, pool info. Let me see something here. So info, descriptor count. Okay, is a map of integer. Okay, okay. So this is just a record. So couldn't I just put that on here and say think of this. Let me think how this would work out. So if I put on here like a get available, would that be the thing? So we're doing available is, we're doing it by a particular type. Doing it by a particular type. We're doing that particular type, but that type is motherfucking changing every time through this loop. This is bugging the shit out of me, that the way they did this. Because it's for multiple types. Descriptor set layouts. Descriptor set layout. Descriptor set layout. So what does descriptor set layout have on it right now? What do I have on here? I got the layout info lists. And this is where I've got the get layout info descriptor types, which I should actually use because that's actually useful in this particular case. So that's the types. That's the types that they've passed in. Sorry, this is I'm rubber ducky coding right now. which is to say, if you're not familiar with the term, oftentimes developers will say, we'll talk to other developers and they'll just say, look, I've got this problem and I've tried this, and they'll just talk it through what they've tried. And in the process of talking it through, you figure out what's going on. And we call it rubber duck programming because what you're really doing is you're the equivalent of sitting in a tub with a rubber ducky and you're talking to the rubber ducky while you're getting a bath. And by doing that, you've figured out what's been bugging you because you're just talking. The process of talking it out loud gives you an idea. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm talking out what's going on here. So we've got layout, a scripter set layout, which is not changing. It's got a set of layout infos, which is not changing, right? Because this call that comes in from this call and it comes down here and it's just got it's looping over it. What it's doing is it's looping over it and it's getting the descriptor types, which is not changing. I mean, it's changing because you're going through the loop, but it's the set of descriptor types is always going to be a thing in this method. Like once you've got the descriptor types, there's no reason to loop again. Which is what's driving me nuts because they've got this double loop here, which means they're constantly looping over, getting these descriptor types again, because they're checking it against every single pool. And what they're doing is they're pulling this pool info in and they're getting the amount of space available in the pool for the type, which in this case is changing every time through the inner loop, but the set of them is not going to change. So it's going to be like 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3 every time through this loop, every time it goes through the pool info. Which is why a lot of this bothers me because they've put validations in here that are muddying the water because they could just validate these and just be done with it, right? Like there's just, and I don't know. The other part of this that annoys me is that these validations are really not freaking necessary because this is not something that's under the control of the user. This is something that's under control of the developer. And if you're writing bad code, you just fix the bad code. You don't like validating it it's just kind of silly in this case because we just built this whole pool count up, right? So why would this type ever be wrong if we've just built this up? It's just, but setting that aside for a moment, this is where we're at. So then they're doing another validation on the max total, whatever, fine, great, sure. This makes sense because we're doing a math min on that, and so the hardware might be giving us less maximum than we have configured. So this check actually makes sense. But what they're really trying to do here, what they're really trying to get at is, do we have a descriptor pool up here, this guy, that has enough available space in it to satisfy how many descriptor sets we want to create? And if not, then create a brand new pool, and I guess hope that it has enough space, because at this point we've validated that you haven't exceeded any max totals, so I guess that's the thought process there. But at the same time, they're keeping this goddamn pool position integer incrementing so that they can pass that into this description set info, which I assume is something that's going to be used later on by the hardware or something. There's no other real reason to keep this around because you're using a list. You know where it's at in the list. Although they are doing a lot of stuff with arrays, so maybe this is like a holdover because they're doing stupid stuff with arrays. I don't know why you would write Java code and then use a bunch of arrays. Like, there's so many other data structures that are so much easier to deal with. I mean, we quite literally have a class called ArrayList, which is a list that acts like an array. And it gives you all the power of a list. You could do streams and everything else. You don't have to wrap the array in a stream to do a stream. And like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of weird silliness that is scattered throughout this book that I'm trying to learn Vulkan programming from. You know. It is what it is. So what I'm trying to do is I've got the validations working, or I've got the validations covered. We're just trying to find the pool that works. So I need the list of pool infos. But what I'm trying to get at is, so the available space in the pool for a particular type facilitates that I still have to loop over the layout infos in order to get the type, because I can only pass, in this case, I can only really pass one type. Wait a second. This thing... It's not going to spread itself out over two pools, right? At the end of the day, they have just one target pool. Which means that pool had enough space for all the different types that are being requested. Not just one of them. Because it's not going to say this pool had enough space for this one type and this other pool over here had enough space for this other type. It's literally saying in here, the way this is structured, because there's only one target pool, at the end of the day, it's saying we want a pool that has enough space for all the different layout info types together, because we're going to put them all in the same pool. So if that's the case, then I can have a method on here that takes a list of types and just brings you back a boolean that says yes or no, this has enough available space for all these types. And yeah, because there's no, yeah, right, because there's not a, this is what's been clawing at my skull looking at this, is that you've got this double loop here, but you're ultimately going through a loop more times than you really honestly need to do, right? And they're going through this loop more times than they need to do because they've clumped in these validations, right? Instead of just, I mean, granted, I'm eventually going through the loop the same amount of times, theoretically, but because I'm looping individually. Is that true? Yeah, well, yes. But I'm doing it in a way that I think is more logical than this way is doing it. Because this is kind of, this is jamming too much stuff into one thing. Jamming too much logic into one operation, essentially. Because what we're trying to do, let me think here. Because ultimately, we're trying to make sure that there's enough available space and that the count doesn't exceed the maximum that we can do. And see, this isn't even necessary, right? Like, this isn't even really necessary, because you can just do get or default here and just return -1 for available, and then that just disqualifies it, because you're never going to ask for -1 space, right? So, you know, although practically speaking, I mean, that's from a practical specific, but honestly, the type, you can just check the types and make sure the types actually exist in the thing, which is what I'm doing here, right? So I am just looking at the descriptor limits, and I'm just seeing, does it contain the key of the type? And if it does, then we're good. Otherwise, I log unknown type, right? Which I don't even need to. I guess this works this way. I kind of want to move this into its own method too, just because I did with this one. But so yeah, these are just, and then the can I create more than, so this one is, so let me think here. Let me think. Yeah, so those are fine. So I need to. So we're doing available the count, descriptor count. Okay. Okay, let's take this one piece at a time. So what I need, if I go descriptor pool info, all right. So we're going to say public boolean has available space, and we'll say int space requested, and then lists integer yeah, import to class. List integer descriptor types, right? And then we say I'm thinking here. My brain is like fogging up for a second. I'm out of coffee. Return boolean has enough space. Actually, make that true. If space requested is less than or equal to descriptor count No, we gotta do, I was right the first time. Return, descriptor types, stream, all match, type, descriptor, count dot get type is so that is the amount. Descriptor type dot get type is the amount is greater than or equal to space requested. So if all of the descriptor types passed in have an available amount greater than or equal to the amount of space requested, then this will return true, which means it has available space. Descriptor count get type is the amount of available space. Okay. So that returns whether or not there's enough space for this particular descriptor pool info, which we can then call this in a loop over all the descriptor pool infos. Right, so I could say I can find the first. So the idea is to find the first thing that has the space that we need. So for info, so I say, if there's available space, and we bring in the, oh man, we bring in the, right, and then if target pool info is null at this point, requests, right? And then that's where they do create descriptor pool info. add it to the pool list, and then increment pool position again. For some reason.
I was able to defend my homeland. It's a familiar sensation. Oddly soothing.
I guess, yeah, I guess that makes sense because you're adding that to the end. Why not?
I think I understand now why you've always
Whatever.
been so strong.
Whatever. Okay, so create description. Description pool info. So don't we have this somewhere? I guess not. So this is Vulcan. A Vulcan call. Okay. So where is this coming from? Create descriptor pool info. VK. Oh no, this is their code. Okay. So create pool info, device and limits. Device and then limits. Okay. And then I guess it's default descriptor limits. Which is apparently not right. Oh, that's right, because yeah. There's no point in doing that. All right. So let's create pool info. Yeah, because they pass these in and just end up applying KV. It counts. Yeah, that needs to be the way they have it there. All right. So, and we're adding the target pool to list and then incrementing the pool position here. So let's do, and then,
I think I understand now why you've always been so strong.
okay. Then what are they doing? Okay, then the result is target pool, descriptor pool, descriptor set. Okay. Alright. So what I need to return here is two things. To return I'll have to return an object array. So then what I could do is say return new object. We'll say target pool info and then position. So return those. Position. So, and then find a create pool with enough space. Which would get called up here. See what I'm annoyed by here. I'm looking over the pool info. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So we'll do object array results find or create pool with enough space device count descriptor pool info list, which I guess I don't need to pass that. You just say descriptor types. Yeah, okay. Pool info list. So this should really be pool info list. And I can just get rid of this. You just need the list of descriptor types, which would be layout dot get layout info descriptor types. There we go. All right, and then what? Okay, so that gives us our descriptor set. So wait, before I do anything else, let's change this back to integer. Info list. This is really types. Okay, and your types. All right, let's do that. So fix that up, and then this can be actually do that up here. List integer descriptor types equals layout get info descriptor types. That, copy that down here, and then copy that down there. That's not going to change from one call to the next there. So that's good. Okay. Okay. We're getting somewhere here, I think. We'll find out eventually. So I got the pool and then that. So then what do they do next with their add descriptor sets? So descriptor set count. What the ever-living hell are they doing here? Descriptor set count. Descriptor set count. So you're making an array big enough to hold count descriptor sets. And they're creating a descriptor set with the target pool and then the descriptor set layout passed in. Result I is descriptor set. I is less than, okay. So they're just, so that's just to pass it into, yeah, because they take an array of descriptor sets. Descriptor set info, okay. So they're really just creating enough descriptor sets for the amount that was requested. Okay, I mean, that's fine. Although they're doing less than counts. So you know, I did the other thing right. I did the other thing right, yeah. Never mind. Okay. So create enough descriptor sets for what they're trying to do, basically. So we're saying lists, descriptor set. Is that what they're doing? Return result. Yeah. Yeah, because they're returning that array. Can they modify result here? Descriptor set layouts. Get layout infos, int descriptor type, target pool. Put, oh, I see. So they're doing a okay. Descriptor type, and then they're setting the amount left to whatever. Which again, it could just be facilitated by making a method. Descriptor set layout, get layout infos, target pool, descriptor count. So yeah. So over here, let me do that right now because it's on the top of my brain. So we'll just say public void adjust available space consumed integer types, and then we just do a descriptor types for each type, and then get the count minus get the available minus the type. Okay, so descriptor count get type descriptor count put type get type minus space consumed. So we're just putting back in there the amount of space, a reduced amount, a reduced available count, basically. Okay. So we're doing that. So then jumping back to here. So we're just creating enough descriptor sets. They're ultimately returning those, right? Array lists for int I is 0, I is less than count I plus plus. New descriptor sets dot add new descriptor set. What are they doing? Device, target pool, and then layout. So device, results 0. which is the... Actually, you know what? I should pull these out. Descriptor pool info. Yeah. Descriptor pool info target pool equals results 0, which just has to be casted. And then int position results 1. Okay. What was it? Descriptor set, device descriptor pool, and then the layout. So target pool. Dot pool. Okay. And then layout. All right, that's what they did. Yeah. Okay. And then they put it into the set info map. Put ID. Okay, ID and then new info. Okay. So descriptor set info map dot put ID new descriptor set info, the array, and then the pool position. So descriptor sets info map, and which I don't know why they then return result again, because they've set it into there, so I don't know what's up with that, but I assume it's for something. And then they update the counts for the target pool. So then all I have to do is say target pool dot adjust available space to count, and then what is it? Descriptor types. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay, Outlaw. Have a good night, and have a good weekend as well. I hope everything goes well. Hope you feel good, and yeah, I'll see you. I'll see you when I see you. Target pool, adjust available space, count descriptor types. Right, so that should work for what they were trying to do. Yeah, just bringing the count down, and then they're just returning new descriptor sets. Whoops. Okay. And then this one I want to pull into its own thing here. Default descriptor limits. Yeah. Private boolean. Do descriptor check descriptor types exist. So that is integer descriptor types. And just down here, and then we'll just say return. And say descriptor types exists. There we go. That's makes me feel a little bit better, ever so slightly. Up here though, validate limits, descriptor types. Let's end. Right, so I don't need this then at all. I'm thinking, can I move that into something that makes more sense, like into the validate limits and requested count. Descriptor types. Because that doesn't need info at all, right? Requested count. Because that's just checking descriptor types exists. Right. And requested count exceeds limits. Descriptor limits. Is this correct? Default descriptor limits? I don't think. I think I've got that wrong. That works for the max total. Available type. Descriptor type. Yeah, because for max total, we're going against those limits. So that doesn't need the layout info. The only reason they're getting, I mean, it doesn't need the pool info, right? The only thing that needs the pool info is the available, which they're checking. Which again is not even necessary. Yeah, so that's not even necessary. Because you're really just checking to make sure that the type exists. I mean, the descriptor types exist is kind of redundant. I'm thinking it's very redundant. Because if it just doesn't, if it just isn't there, then just return -1. But it's kind of here just to make sure you're not trying to request something that just doesn't have any code to deal with it. So that's fine from that perspective, which means then we don't need this loop at all because it's not serving any purpose. Right? So target pool. There we go. Okay. I think we have something that is correct and makes a little bit more sense than what was there. At least to me, anyway. We'll see. That was the add descriptor sets. What else do they have in here? Cleanup and then the free. And get. Okay. Well, I don't think I have the energy to do much more tonight. Unfortunately, I would like to finish this off, but I feel my strength waning here. So let me make a note. Put myself for later. Say to do. Clean up free descriptor sets. Get descriptor set. I don't have those yet, do I? No. Okay. And then that will be, this class will be finished, quote unquote. And then after that, it's down to have to instantiate. So then it's down to plumbing at that point. We got to wire these things into the larger picture, pipeline, all that stuff. So we're at the clean up. Okay, so I should leave myself another note here. Do I have Obsidian up? I do. Let's do new note. We'll say yeah, let's see if this works. Copy that. Can I paste that in here? I can. And I did. All right. Cool. How do I? There it is. All right. So save that. That there. Okay, cool. Cool. This is saved. Got my notes going. I'm actually leaving notes for myself now for a change. All right. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for me for tonight. Unfortunately, yes, I would like to pick up this tomorrow, but I won't be able to stream at all tomorrow. So no streams tomorrow. Sunday night I should be back, but it'll be with a game, probably No Man's Sky. We'll be finishing up Expedition 2 and potentially starting Expedition 3, depending on how long it takes to do. Because I've got everything off camera I've done up to Phase 5, but I haven't triggered Phase 5 yet. So we'll see how long Phase 5 takes, if long at all or not. I mean, typically they don't usually take that long, so we'll see. And then we'll, maybe go back to Expedition 3 Redux and just keep on going down until we get through all the old expeditions for No Man's Sky. So that'll be good. And then Monday, well, we'll see what next week has. Next week, a couple things on my list. I want to revisit Dune Awakening, because Chapter 2 came out, plus also I still need to finish Chapter 1, so there's still a whole lot of story stuff to go for me on that. I also want to do more Borderlands 4, so we'll have to figure out what days I do what, I guess. And it might be kind of random as I'm doing things. And then I have a bunch of other things on the list to potentially finish, although a lot of long-running games there that I might stay on the back burner for a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, I'll just kind of play it by ear a little bit, because I do have some games I want to actually start. Some older, like an older game that I would like to start, but I haven't decided yet which one. And I haven't quite finished modding Dungeon Siege 2. I mean, it won't take me long to put the mods in there, but I have to launch it and make sure it works and all that stuff. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear beyond Sunday. Anyway, my friends, that'll do it for me for tonight. If you happen to run across this on the YouTubes and you have a like and or a subscribe that you can spare and maybe toss my way, that would be really swell and awesome, and I appreciate it greatly. Also, if you're looking for a streaming site that doesn't play ads and gives you decent quality and is trying something different, it's kind of a Discord-like streaming site. You can go take a look at Moonbeam. You can go to either moonbeam.stream, or if you want to use a redirect that I've put together, you can just go to memoryleakdeath.tv/moonbeam. That'll take you there, take you to Continuum, which is the realm that I have over there. Trying to spread the word about them, trying to get more activity on the site if we can. So there's that. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope everyone has an excellent morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what it is for you. And hope to see you back here again in the future for some more stuff, whatever happens to suit your fancy. Until then, see you, bye.
space!